This story is called Sassyfrass of Saskatoon. This story is written by Sharon Messina. You can find this story and many other stories written by Sharon Messina on Amazon. And now to the story. Sassyfrass, a little gopher, lived in a tunnel under the grass near some clover in a park in Saskatoon. Now it came to pass that Sassyfrass had to visit his aunt who got sick from the bite of a teeny-weeny tick, and she lived far away near a big stack of hay on a farm owned by Mr. Blake near the town of Duck Lake. Now a gopher is quick, he is trim, he is slick, but the town of Duck Lake, much less the farm of Mr. Blake, was simply too far away for a young gopher to find his way by himself without any help. So he thought and he thought of a scheme, of a plot, to reach the farm of Mr. Blake near the town of Duck Lake. He thought of flying in a plane, but he would rather be slain than fly in a plane way up high in the sky, so high he could die. You see, poor Sassyfrass just shook as he sat in the grass at the thought of heights, which gave him the frights. So it was no to the plane, so how about the train? Oh, but he almost forgot how sick he had got when he last tried to catch a ride on the railway car. So it was no to the train. What a shame. What a shame. Well, what about a bus? But then he recalled all the noise, all the fuss that was made the last time he travelled by bus. He was appalled. You see, he scared the living daylights out of a girl who now can't sleep nights simply because he curled up near her feet when he hopped on the bus and couldn't find a seat. A gopher she'd never seen before, and she ran screaming to the door. "Let me out! Let me out!" she had said with a shout. So it was no to the bus. So how was he to reach his goal? His poor sick aunt to console? Should he go by car as Duck Lake was so far? But then he thought about the last time he travelled by car. He shook with fear, just thinking of how near he came to dying when the car went flying as one of its tyres just expired. So it was no to the car, and no to the bus, and no to the train, and no to the plane. So how was he to go to his aunt who was sick? Sick from the bite of a nasty old tick. But wait, another idea popped into his head. He could use his Uncle Mike's bike instead of a car or a bus or a train or a plane. Yes, the bike his Uncle Mike had built for a gopher to go far. So off he ran to his Uncle Mike to ask if he could use his bike. And can you guess what his Uncle Mike said? Well, he said, "Yes, there it is in the shed." Sassyfrass, the gopher, was certainly no loafer. He quickly hopped on the bike, ready for the long hike. He expected it would take 3 days to reach Duck Lake and the aunt who was sick from the bite of a tick. While on the dusty road he met a croaky old toad, who just jeered and jibed and laughed till he cried, when he learned that Sassyfrass was going to pedal so fast all the way to Duck Lake. But make no mistake, Sassyfrass was certain to make the long distance to Duck Lake, 'cause he was a determined gopher who was definitely no loafer. On the road, he passed the toad. Pedal and pedal and pedal he did. Faster and faster and faster he rode, as though he was in an Olympic medal bid striving for the almighty gold. Then suddenly, he hit a big hump, and with a loud thump, he fell off his bike and rolled into the dike. He hit his head on a boulder, then bruised his right shoulder. At first he thought he was dead, 'cause his poor bruised head was aching and throbbing and ringing, and he thought that he heard some angels singing. But no, he was still very, very much alive, 'cause he could hear a buzz from a beehive. "Yikes!" he exclaimed. "There are bees," he proclaimed. And with that, he scrambled back to his bike, determined to continue on his hike. Off he went, nearly spent, his body broken and bent. But his aunt he must see, his poor aunt so sickly. On he rode into the night, guided by the stars so bright. He dare not stop, afraid he would drop. Then daybreak came, and though almost lame, he continued to sit astride his bike to ride, ride, ride. A little bird then appeared and sat on the handlebar of his bike, and when Sassyfrass told him of his long hike, he merely twittered and jeered. "You cannot go all the way to Duck Lake. You're merely a little gopher and not a drake, and it's a mighty long way to ride, for one so young, especially without a guide." But Sassyfrass pushed on through the grass. He had to visit his poor sick aunt. And besides, he didn't believe in can't. Where there's a will, there's a way, he remembered his mum used to always say. So on, he soldiered though he was injured. So another night passed, and still Sassyfrass kept pedalling away, too frightened to stay on one spot for more than a second, just in case exhaustion beckoned. He was nearly there. He could feel it in the air. He should reach his aunt around noon when, ouch, he ran smack into a loon. So he stopped to say sorry and landed up telling his story, and the loon, what a goon, started to whoop in laughter, which made Sassyfrass pedal even faster. Why couldn't anyone believe in him? Why did they just laugh at him? Just because he was small, a brown little furball, shouldn't mean he couldn't reach for the stars and maybe even try for Mars. After all, it was only 83 kilometres from Saskatoon to Duck Lake, a distance he was determined to make. So faster and faster and faster he went, his head bowed low and his body bent. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. The wheels went round and round as his sweat rolled off into the ground. He made it. He did it. He reached the town of Duck Lake. Now all he had to do was find Mr. Blake. Well, no sooner had he inquired of a dog than a fat, smelly hog came grunting along and told Sassyfrass to get on. You see, this old hog had heard from the dog that Sassyfrass was searching for Mr. Blake's farm, and he was none other than the hog from Mr. Blake's barn. When his sick aunt saw him, she hugged and she hugged him. Then this aunt who adored him implored and implored him, "Please stay with me for a while." And when he said yes, she gave a weak smile. And that is the incredible tale of how a little gopher named Sassyfrass reached his goal and didn't fail. And that is the end of the story, my little friends. If you want to read the book, you can have Mummy or Daddy purchase it on Amazon. You can find the web link to the book in the YouTube explainer.